Well, guys, hey, what's up? Couple of things to go through in this video. First of all, I did film a gigantic review of WrestleMania and the whole weekend and a bunch of the other things that went along with it. Not the wrestling shows. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the wrestling shows. Besides WrestleMania and the Hall of Fame. But there was a bunch of stuff that happened this weekend that I just felt the need to talk about. I filmed the whole thing. It's almost 2 hours long. I think I clocked it in at an hour 47 minutes or something. So it's a really long video. And I was really proud of it, really happy with it. But Windows Live Movie Maker is a no-good son of a bitch and won't save it right or whatever. So fuck it. I'm just going to get new video editing software, and I will post that thing hopefully by tomorrow. That's the goal. But yeah, if I seem a little out of it right now, it's because I've had like one shitty day. Between, the video editing problems that have really stressed my ass out and pissed me off, my day at work was shit, and I don't want to go into details about that because, you never know who's watching, but let me just say I had one of those days that if I walked up to a brick wall, I wouldn't know whether to punch it or to put my head through it. I don't know. Just constant frustration all day long. Yeah, the reason I'm doing this video here is because I filmed my WrestleMania video on Tuesday night, which was... it was probably while the news broke, and I just didn't hear anything. I didn't hear it until Wednesday morning, but when I heard that Ultimate Warrior passed away, obviously that's something that I needed to comment on. It was not commented on in my video, my big, long WrestleMania video, and when I do post that one, it'll be without any acknowledgement of Warrior's death because it was filmed before that happened. And all of my candid comments regarding Warrior's appearance at the Hall of Fame, his speech, his appearance on Raw, and him going into the Hall of Fame and everything, it'll all be on there without talking about his passing. And this is a really shocking death, to say the least. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that Warrior was one of my favorites. He wasn't. As a kid, I was a Hogan fan and a Savage fan, and Warrior beat them both at WrestleMania, so... obviously, that didn't make me too happy, and when you're 4 years old, that's the only logic you have. But yeah, I didn't gravitate to Warrior too much, and obviously over the years, we've heard all the stories about him, about the SummerSlam 91, how he held up Vince for money, and all the other negative stories that have gone around about him, and including... oddly enough, the rumor that he died and they'd gotten another Ultimate Warrior, and so much mystery and so much negativity surrounding the Ultimate Warrior's legacy. Him not showing up to shows and walking out and throwing hissy fits and being unprofessional and this, that, and the other and all of that. So it's really kind of painted this picture of the type of man the Warrior is. And of course, he's done some of that himself as well, just presenting himself. I'll never forget his whole... queer and don't make the world work speech or anything like that. So Warrior was never one of my favorites, both as a man or as a wrestler, but I will say that the Ultimate Warrior was one of the most iconic and unique characters of the time period. I mean, every kid knew who the Ultimate Warrior was, and a lot of them supported them and loved him, and he was so colorful and energetic. I mean, it was impossible not to get swept up into it at least a little bit, and even though, like I said, he was never my favorite, I typically got invested in his storylines and his feuds because he was such an intense and crazy character that it did make for some great situations, like the match with Hogan, like the match with Savage, like his feud with Rick Rude. I thought all that stuff was very, very good. Even putting him up against Undertaker, even though they never had a big pay-per-view burn-off match, that's a great character pairing right there. I thought that Ultimate Warrior did have a place in wrestling history, and I thought the Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD, even though we can debate whether or not how much of it is true, and them making fun of his character seemed a little lame, because it's like, look, everybody was a cartoon character back then. It was, even though it was funny, I will say that. A lot of the stuff on the DVD was funny. At the end of the day, Vince is the one who pushed him, so I kind of feel like, it's like, yeah, you can make fun of him, and you can hate on him all you want, but... I mean, you're the one that presented the character, but Yeah, so I guess you could say I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with the Warrior. That would probably be the best way to sum it up. He was always one of those guys that everybody shit on, said he was a bad worker and everything, and he'd blow up and all that stuff. But I would think, he did have his moments. Like, again, the matches with Savage, the matches with Rude, the stuff with Hogan. He did have his moments. Again, not one of my favorites, but he had his good moments. And I have to say, and you'll see my full explanation of it when you see my big WrestleMania video, he left us with a positive memory, I felt, because his Hall of Fame speech was actually really good for the most part. Yeah, it was a little long-winded at points, and yeah, there were some awkward pauses, but overall, I thought he presented a side of himself that we hadn't gotten to really see, and to see him kind of be humble and talk about how it's like, well, I wasn't really a tough guy. I played one on TV and painted up and played dress up, but it was great to make the kids happy, and the fans are the ones that keep the Ultimate Warrior alive, and all of that stuff. And I thought all of that was like, wow, this is... And of course, he was him. I mean, he took shots at certain things, like the WWF. I wish somebody would get the FNF back in, or whatever. He wasn't just a WWE puppet. He was him. He felt real, and it felt human. For such an otherworldly character to have the Man go up there and just come across as a real human being and give us like a good speech and kind of that, go out on a high note basically. And then when he came out on Raw and gave the speech again, it was actually a really good promo, although it's really eerie now because you go back and look at that speech and it's like, it was kind of his eulogy in a way. And when I first heard the story, because I got a call from my sister almost the minute I woke up, quite honestly, I literally jumped out of bed and got a call, and she's like, "Did you hear?" And I was like, "What?" And like, Ultimate Warrior died, and I'm like, "I just saw him on TV." I'm like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. It's crazy." And that whole speech talking about immortality and how the fans keep the legends alive and all that stuff, it really just it does kind of feel like he was saying goodbye. Now that you throw his death on top of it, and when I first heard the story, I'm like, it has to be a suicide because it's just the timing's just too convenient. It was like, I'm gonna have my big weekend, I'll go to the Hall of Fame, give my big farewell speech, and then I'm gonna end it. But it sounds like he collapsed in a parking lot, so I don't know if it's complications caused by steroids, or if he had some health condition that he didn't tell anybody about, or maybe he didn't know about, or maybe he did know and he knew the end was coming, which is why he agreed to the Hall of Fame thing. I have no idea. Whatever it is, it's really bizarre, and this is one of the strangest and most spooky, not to make it sound cartoonish, but it is one of the most eerie and ghoulish wrestling deaths that I can think of. And it's really going to give a lot of that stuff that happened at WrestleMania, like the Hall of Fame speech and like his speech the next night on Raw, it's going to kind of give it this weird vibe to it whenever you watch it now. It's like, wow, he died the next day. It's like, wow, that's really weird and really creepy. But, and part of me was kind of hoping, it's like, is this a work? Is this something like that, some angle that got cooked up? And it's like, no, apparently it's real. And unfortunately, real as real can get. And, yeah, and like I said, it's made even sadder by the fact that we just saw him. He just came back, and he gave us a good last impression of himself. I'm not saying he looked like the Warrior, or the Ultimate Warrior of old, but he didn't try to. He basically just came out and gave his props to the fans, cut one last promo. You got to see him, even though it wasn't face paint, you got to see him in the Ultimate Warrior get up one last time, and it was actually a good moment for him to go out on. And I'll say that about Ultimate Warrior, for all the negativity that I've said about him personally, and many others have said about him. Like I said, he did have his moments, and his last moment for us wrestling fans was actually quite a good one. So, what the hell? Sorry, pop-up menu. Sorry, pop-up menu popped up on my laptop. I hate the damn things. Anyway, getting back to my point, Ultimate Warrior, like I said, he did give us good moments that fans can remember and cherish. And it's even made stranger by the fact that when I did my Top 30 WrestleMania match series, I picked him and Savage at 7 as my #1 favorite. And, again, so I'm not going to sit here and say I hated everything Warrior did, for sure. But anyway, it's kind of like you look at this last weekend and you look at some of the other good things he did and how memorable the character was. Just remember the good times, basically, is what I'm going to say. I mean, there's certainly stuff to make fun of. He certainly had his not-so-great moments in wrestling, but he also had his great moments, and he did leave a lasting impression on a lot of fans, and a lot of fans remember him fondly, and I'd say that that's a good thing. So, Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, Warrior, thank you for the good times, is basically what I'm going to say. Thank you for the good times, and thank you for coming out and doing what you did this weekend, because, like I said, for even those of us that may have thought down on the Ultimate Warrior and weren't always on the bandwagon with Warrior, you gave us a good memory, a good final memory of yourself, and it was good to have you go out on a positive. And if nothing else, our last impressions of you were very positive, and it was nice that you got to at least end your time in wrestling on a positive note. And of course, my thoughts and prayers and feelings go out to his wife and kids, who we saw at the Hall of Fame, and I know this must be very trying and hard for them, and hopefully Vince takes care of them, because I know that Ultimate Warrior signed the Legends deal, so hopefully they get taken care of through this. And by all accounts, and by the way they look like a pretty lovely family, so obviously my hearts go out to them, along with every other wrestling fan here who remembers the Ultimate Warrior, and just are always sad whenever somebody goes and leaves the family behind. That's always something that's very tough to deal with. I think we've all gone through that in some way, shape, or form. But I didn't mean to get all sad and morose here, but like I said, I had this bit of bad news, and I just had a rough day in general, so it's been rough. But like I said, my big WrestleMania review will be a much happier video, I shall say, and you'll see that tomorrow night, I hope, if the new video editing software pays off and actually does what I want it to do. But I just wanted to come on here and pay tribute to the Ultimate Warrior and talk about, just how shocking it was and how sad it is, and how he did give us some positive things to remember him by, at least. And like I said, that's a good thing. But that's all I have for now, and I will see you all later.